Spring offers a fresh start. We're out of the dredge of winter, but we still have majority of the year ahead. Do these 3 simple steps to refresh and reset your career this spring. Too many of us, myself included, get caught up doing the same thing over and over again, and next thing you know it, years have passed without you taking control. The first couple years of my career, I did exactly that. I just sat back and watched myself become a cog in the machine, and spoiler alert, I was miserable. Once you take control and make things happen for you, not to you, you'll be more satisfied and fulfilled in your career because you'll be in the driver's seat, even if you're at a really large 13,000 person company like I am. Before we get into those 3 simple steps, a quick introduction. I'm Kimmy, I'm 30 years old, living in New York City, working in technology audit consulting, and welcome to On Our Way, a channel where we talk about navigating careers and life through the lens being women. Without further ado, let's get on our way to spring cleaning your career. First step, declutter your career. Identify any clutter in your career. This could be unnecessary tasks or unwanted responsibilities that are keeping you from what you're passionate about, unnecessary skill sets, for instance, proficiency in an obsolete technology or following outdated processes, or my personal favorite, colleague clutter. Just like you would in your New York-sized apartment, take action to minimize the clutter. I won't go as far to say that in your career you can remove all clutter. Maybe if you're self-employed, but from my perspective, firmly in middle management at a global company, I can't remove it all, but I can, and I have, taken steps to minimize it. And if I can do it, so can you. Let's first take unnecessary tasks. Where you can, take steps to focus on more high-impact tasks. If you're on a team, for me, this is identifying tasks in the top of everyone's ability band, meaning you shouldn't be doing tasks that someone who supports you can be doing. It's not a good use of your time to be doing things that can be pushed down and are actually opportunities for learning for others. Identify tasks that others can take on. This can quickly give you back time in the day to focus on things that only you can do and therefore are more high impact and less clutter. If you don't have a team under you, still take the time to identify any possibly unnecessary tasks that you're performing and work to understand the why. If you're having trouble doing that, I think it's perfectly okay to politely ask your manager. This could be asking your manager the why behind a certain task. And if they respond, well, this is the way it's always been done, then critically think through what it's solving and if there's possibly a more effective way to tackle it. When done right, your manager will be grateful that you took that time to critically think these tasks through. If you identify unnecessary tasks that can be removed, you can then take off more from your manager's plate, which not only helps them, but presents you with amazing learning opportunities. This goes hand in hand with unwanted responsibilities. If you own a certain process that you identify as clutter, take steps to delegate or pass that to other individuals that may view it as learning opportunities more aligned with their goals than it is yours. When proposing this to your manager, make sure you're phrasing it as this will help the team be more efficient in the long run and will give other teammates opportunities. Managers will be a lot more responsive when it comes to changes that benefit the team and propel it forward from an efficiency standpoint. Rather than presenting the changes, I think we should do this because I'm unhappy or I think it's pointless to have me do it. An example of this for me is leading client calls. At this point in my career, I can kind of do this in my sleep, but it takes a lot of prep work to make sure I'm up to date on what's outstanding, next steps, and our overall status. But it is for more junior members. Now, for the most part, I'm on status calls to support and not drive, and this frees me up to prepare for calls where the team isn't in a place to lead them yet. We are all operating for the most part at the top of our ability band to be the most efficient. Clutter can also be unnecessary or outdated skill sets and following obsolete processes. Maybe you're a pro at research but haven't mastered AI prompting to quicken that exercise. Do your best to be objective and recognize any skills that no longer serve you and are acting as clutter, and make actionable steps to upskill. This could be as simple as reading some articles or watching YouTube videos to taking an online course. Don't be shy in exploring if your employer has any resources or workshops as well. My company, for instance, has an online learning portal with courses on everything from AI prompting to accounting for non-accountants, cloud management, the list goes on, but basically any random area you could want to upskill, you can. And best thing is it's free. Your company may either have online courses or provide a stipend or reimbursement for upskilling if it relates to your career. It's never a silly question to ask. Last of the career clutter, my personal favorite and maybe the trickiest to navigate is colleague clutter. First step is to figure out who you're formally or informally aligned to, meaning who you work the most with at the senior levels, who when they think of you, they think of that manager. For instance, Sarah, oh, I know Sarah, she works with Kimmy on all of her projects. Once you've identified that person or that handful of people, have an honest conversation with yourself if they're propelling your career forward. It can be a tough pill to swallow if you realize that the manager or managers that you've been closely aligning yourself with aren't your best advocates or maybe aren't the most well respected. Most of the time, this isn't personal. They're probably a great person, but if they're not seen as a leader at your company, even if they appreciate you, their word won't go that far. Similarly, if the manager that you've aligned yourself with is respected and good at their job, but doesn't sing your praises to others, you closely aligning with them may be a form of colleague clutter. This is work, so I'm not proposing to burn any bridges, but you can start to explore opportunities outside of your go-to managers. This can be formally through helping out on more projects tied to other folks, or it could start off as informal, for instance, asking someone to coffee to pick their brain. No reasonable manager is going to be offended if you want to get to know other people at work while still getting your own work done. I had to do this in my career, and honestly, it took me about a year to realize that my go-to person that I supported was no longer helping me forward. Not because they weren't a nice person, but because they weren't going forward themselves. Second step, get organized. As we all know, a key part of spring cleaning is organizing. For me, at least, I can't have a clear mind unless things are in their place and I feel like I'm organized. In your career, this takes on a couple forms: organizing digitally, physically, and organizing your time. This means that there's a method to the madness in your emails, files, and calendar. Categorizing files and emails by type or status can be a game changer in making sure that things don't get lost. For me, I have Outlook folders for each client I'm on, as well as internal initiatives. In my Outlook calendar, I also color code, so at a glance, I can get a sense of where in my day do I need to be extra focused or prepared for. I have client or external calls as green. These are the ones that I typically need to prepare the most for and possibly be camera ready. I mark internal calls as blue, so of course calls that I should be prepared for, but definitely lower stake. And any advising calls I have as purple. These are internal calls where I need to be on, but in a slightly different way. So they're to talk about career trajectory or problem people are having at work or so on. I think an underrated area to organize is your notes. I'm a big fan of OneNote. I have different notebooks for different clients with different tabs based on the to-dos, internal calls, external calls, and so on. I can quickly Control F to find a keyword across all notebooks or in a specific section. For instance, if my manager comes to me and says, "Hey, have any clients expressed growing concerns with ransomware?" I can do a Control F across all my notebooks and see if it's come up in any status calls. You can also make a shared notebook, meaning for one client, multiple people can have access and contribute, which is especially helpful if different people are joining different calls. And you can use this as a live location for to-dos, noting ownership and status with a checkbox. Next is organizing your physical workspace. If you work from home or in an office, take some time this spring to refresh and reset your desk. What do you need and what's physical clutter? For instance, I always need chapstick. Like literally every hour I need to put chapstick on, which I should probably seek some medical guidance on. But at my home desk, I make sure that I have chapstick handy. That way I'm not distracted and thinking oh, my lips are chapped. I should think about going to get chapstick from the bathroom instead of just, finishing this PowerPoint. Take inventory of what you need on hand to be effective and getting things done. Also recognize what you shouldn't have at your desk to get things done. For me this spring, a big change was moving my phone from the little stand next to my screen to a table behind my desk. When it was right next to my computers, I could be on a Zoom or, in the zone, click-clacking away. And if my sister, for instance, sent me a reel, I would see it, even if I didn't want to get distracted. It was right there. It was in eyesight. Versus now I can easily swivel and get my phone if I need to, but it's not in eyesight. So I have to make that conscious effort of I'm going to look at my phone, not just have my eyes go straight to it. This has helped me stay focused, especially when I'm working from home a couple days a week when the only person to judge my screen time here has 4 legs. Lastly, organize your time. Take an audit of your time and use that as a basis to improve your time management. It's so easy to get stuck in, well, this is how I've always done it. I've always kept my to-dos in 5 places. I've always saved my hardest work for the end of the day. I've always kept my phone in eye shot while I work. Whatever it is, use this spring career cleaning exercise as a time to have an honest conversation with yourself about what is working and where you could improve your time management. Time is our main constraint. We all only have so much of it. Learn how to use it wisely. The best thing to keep me on track in using my time wisely is to use OneNote again and make my list of to-dos for the week. I organize them by client and put a target completion date next to each task. For instance, on Monday, I want to get these 5 tasks done. On Tuesday, these 3, and so on. And I add to it as the week goes on and roll over any from the prior week that don't get accomplished. When I'm staring at the wall, like, where do I even start? This gives me actionable steps. It's key to make sure that the tasks are at a granular enough level that they can be checked off. For instance, I wouldn't add a task like plan for next year, because what does that even mean? Like that's so vague. That's just going to get carried over from week to week. Instead, I would add something like draft FY25 budget, confirm with staffing for who's going to be on the project, reach out to the managing director to get a final contract, whatever it is, something that I can easily check off and they're more actionable to get it done. Also, recognize when you are the most productive and plan to take on your hardest tasks during that time. For me, it's first thing in the morning when I'm sipping my coffee. So I slot in my hardest work for those time slots. Then I save any chiller, maybe more admin work for like the 4 to 5:30 or 6 time slot. This uses each hour of my day to the fullest because I can more reasonably expect what I can get done. By doing this, I feel like I'm at least setting my days up for success. By being most productive during work hours, you're maximizing your ability to unplug after work because you know you crushed it. By being organized, you're also giving your brain the ability to only focus on the task at hand. You don't need to keep a mental list running in your head because it's all written down for you. Step 3, effective goal setting. At this point, you've minimized clutter and gotten organized. The only thing left to round out this career spring clean is to plan for the future. We couldn't effectively look ahead with all that clutter flying around before, but now we can effectively goal set. Clearly identify what you want to achieve in the next year, 5 years, and 10 years. You can adjust those time frames, but all that gets at is the short-term, midterm, and long-term goals. And just like the to-dos on your to-do list, make these goals actionable. Often we phrase goals with words like more or less, like speak up in meetings more, work from home less, go into the office more, get more involved in sales, but that verbiage makes it tough to hold yourself accountable. Instead of using words like more or less, make it quantifiable. For instance, schedule weekly check-ins with your manager to get your questions answered and be proactive in planning for the week ahead. Another example could be going into the office Tuesday through Thursday to make sure you're getting that face time with your direct reports. You can tailor this to you and your career goals, but make it so you could check it off a list and not talk your way around it like, well, I'm going into the office more than during COVID when we were in lockdown, so I think I kind of accomplished this. With this formula, you can hold yourself accountable. Some of those examples are nitty-gritty, but don't be afraid to go big with your goals. If you want to make managing director in 5 years, amazing. But don't stop there, because right now that goal isn't very actionable. You need to work backwards to tackle that long-term goal. Maybe first you need to get promoted to director, 1 step below MD. Well, to do that, you have to hit your sales metrics at your current level and be involved in the office. Sub-goals, therefore, should be to meet your sales metrics and maybe actively mentor or train up 5 team members, let's say. Having long-term goals feels more attainable when you have actionable steps to accomplish them. Hannah Berner, comedian and media personality, was recently on Jay Shetty and said, I like to sit down and say something crazy, like I want to get a Netflix special. Then I literally go backwards of all the things you have to do to get there. To get a Netflix special, you have to perform in front of someone at Netflix. How do you do that? You'd have to be selling out theaters. How do you do that? You have to get JFL. How do you get JFL? You have to go to the clubs. How do you get into the clubs? You have to start writing. How do you start writing? By doing it tomorrow. Hannah broke down her long-term goal and made it actionable. And spoiler alert, she got the Netflix special. An underrated step to goal setting is writing your goals down. This could be in a notebook, on your phone's notepad app, literally wherever. Research shows that people that wrote down their goals were 42% more likely to achieve them compared to people that just thought about them or talked about them. Writing down your goals doesn't just make sure you don't forget them, but also gives you a greater sense of accountability, making you more likely to follow through. It's also a great visualization. For instance, when you're stressed at work and making manager or director in 5 years seems so far-fetched, you can look at those 10, for instance, sub-goals that you wrote down and visualize it, and it's way less daunting. Through minimizing career clutter, getting organized, and setting actionable goals, you're sure to refresh and reset your career this spring. What sets successful people apart is they tried. Plain and simple. Do me a favor and try these 3 career spring clean steps and let me know your results. I guarantee you the hardest part is just starting. If you got anything out of this, please give this video a like and subscribe for similar content as we all continue on our way.